Good morning.
Good afternoon and good night.
Pastords out. That's awfully short, Raj.
Well, we just keep getting shorter and shorter, much to the delight of our listeners and viewers.
Well, they did say in mass we want less bastards. So
right. I think they were saying that the ideal was 3 minutes.
that was the cleverness
Our
of
poll.
WKRP, less Nessman, because he would say, and now
Less
going to have
Nessman.
Less Nessman.
Oh,
Remember,
that's
like
a blast from the past.
Superfly and less Nessman.
Superfly.
And
You're gonna make your fortune now, baby.
what was the other? The
The blonde chick.
well, you just went there. Dixie, I suppose. Back in those days, very popular name. No, Lonnie was her real name. Lonnie something.
Oh.
Anderson.
Anderson, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
But the DJ that was the funny, dope smoking hippie guy.
Right.
What was his name?
Well, you're asking that's
Well, I just thought WKRP might have triggered something for you.
the memory I have is Lonnie.
Well, there you go. I love the transparency, Raj. I love the honesty. It's moving to me personally. That's not the first person I'm going to bring up, but that's just me.
Oh, so I know that you watched some golf this week.
I did watch some golf this week, and another big day for the old guys.
Yes.
Phil Mickelson coming in second place, right there with Brooks Koepka, who had a bit of a meltdown. You heard about the joke, didn't you? Live Golf only plays 54 holes. That's why he collapsed on the last 18. He's not used to playing 72. I'm like, there's probably something to that. Mentally, he's like, I got 54. Just got to get through 54.
Well, we're all the top 3 live golfers anyway.
Turns out I was wrong. Ron was not a live golfer.
Oh, okay.
It's Patrick Reed that is.
Okay.
Those guys, for some reason in my brain, they get similar. It's their little stocky build, I think.
But the old guys too. Freddie Couples makes the cut
63
for
something.
a record. Set the record. The oldest person to make.
And didn't you tell me that it was also the second highest number of cuts made in Masters history?
Yes.
Second only to Jack Nicklaus.
Behind
That's
Jack
a pretty big. That's a crazy number.
So here is my trivia question. Golf trivia for Bruce. Da-da-da.
Can't we make it about our listeners, Raj?
They love me to flummox you with a trivia question.
Flummox. I thought that was a white plant that you put outside in the garden.
You do not smoke it.
Okay. Flummox.
Flummox,
right.
yes, is
flummox.
to confound and anyway. So
Couldn't you have just said confound?
flummox is far more. Come on.
Okay.
Flummox is a far more.
I was just trying to understand
One
your word
word.
choice this morning. So flummox away.
Flummox away. So most consecutive cuts made on the PGA Tour, top 4. See how many you can get. So most consecutive. These aren't majors, whatever. But they're included, of course. But most consecutive cuts made on the PGA Tour. I know the top 4.
The people?
Yes, I know the top.
Or the number. I'm like, I don't know. Is it 180? Is it 200? I have
Well,
no idea.
the number, the 142 is the top number.
142 is the top number.
Consecutive made cuts.
Yeah, it's just how do you? I would think Greg Norman would be in there somewhere.
He's not in the top 4.
Yeah, because he was number 1 in the world for like 6 years. With all of his seconds, they just kept him right there.
Well,
that's interesting. Oh, consecutive cuts. Because I know even Jack missed the cut at the Masters like 3 times. I know we're not doing Masters, we're talking about everything, but I'm like, I'm just trying. Who would be the most consistent, steady golfer on the planet? Well, I'm gonna go with Fred Couples. It's hard to go wrong there.
Also, strike 2. He's not. Neither of those are the top.
Tiger
4.
Woods.
Tiger Woods number 1
with 142.
142. But you were on the right track. He had a stretch of dominance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So even if we don't put him, it's say, okay, Jack is still the top, but Tiger had an unprecedented stretch of dominance.
Yeah, just a good play. Just week in, week out.
140, and then the second isn't close. I think the second is like 113.
And you know, my favorite, I know this is not on your trivia because my favorite duel in the Tiger Woods era is still the PGA Championship with Bob May. Do you remember that? That was the most fun round. It went to a playoff.
Yeah.
Bob May just stayed in it. I mean, he's like this unknown journeyman.
Yep.
Who's just going shot for shot, punch for punch with Tiger Woods. And I mean, both of them at the end of that thing were just exhausted.
Yep.
But I mean, you know the respect.
And Bob never got a major, did he?
I'm afraid not. And what a terrible time to live if you're a golfer in the Tiger Woods era, because it was hard to get a major in that season.
Oh yes,
it was hard.
Right.
Now Sam Snead might still be ahead of Tiger on total tour wins. Also a tough era, you know, because you think of that era, you think of Jack Nicklaus, but the guy who won the most, Sam Snead. That's crazy.
Interesting.
The number of tournaments that he won. It's just it's a crazy number. All right, so Tiger Woods, most cuts, number 1, 2, 3, 4.
2, going back to the old guys, Byron Nelson.
Byron Nelson, okay.
Like 113.
Yeah.
Factoid, I thought this was funny because I looked, Tiger missed, his string of 142 was broken at the 2005 Byron Nelson Championship. Anyway, so Byron Nelson, number 2.
The ghost of Byron.
We've all felt him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He haunts my game all the time.
Byron's just right there with you.
A lot of golfers haunt my game with their chuckling.
Yes.
So number 3, Jack Nicklaus.
Jack Nicklaus.
I think like 108. And the 4th, Hale Irwin.
Hale. Tom Hale.
Hale Irwin.
Hale Irwin.
86 or
well,
something.
and he had, I was looking through the oldest major winners, and Hale Irwin had the, like 1990 US Open at 43. Jack had the Masters at 46. Julio Boros had, I think, one of the majors at 48.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, and then it was an older guy.
Yeah, I guess
and then Phil Mickelson tops them all with winning a major at 50. Which is just, you know, another great one for the old guys. But it's interesting what he said after the round. He talked about, hey, at my age, I'm glad that I don't have any injuries. I can play well. I don't.
Right.
It's crazy that he has no injuries. There's not back stuff, because that was what got Fred Couples for years. Just, you know, started having back issues and whatnot. And Phil Mickelson's clubhead speed and driving distance is right there with the young guys.
Really?
Which, it's crazy. His clubhead speed, and he just works so hard on that, particularly in these later years. Anyway, it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
So other than golf, what are we talking about today?
Well, you know, I thought about something we were talking about over dinner last night. So Bruce and Rod's, the Pastords, and the Pastords' wives were having dinner on the back deck of our home, and
the veranda.
Okay. Can't we just say deck?
No, veranda is more fun. It's like flummox.
Exactly. But I just thought the fun of talking about, because I had this insight this morning out of what we talked about. So we're enjoying this just place.
Yeah.
I was thinking about last night, we were talking about how much we love places. You were talking about the farm.
Yeah, the farm was my happy place.
And when we were growing up as kids.
Oh, that was the happy place. Look forward to that like going to Disney World, which we did once.
But I was thinking of, like, so what are some of your favorite places? When you talk the farm, but when you think about just places that bring you joy, what are some of the big or small?
Yeah, so when I think of places, I remember Mark and Wendy had a little house back in
Friends of ours.
This is in the early 80s. They had a little house down in Brainerd, and we had so much fun at that place. We would play cards on Friday night, Saturday football, Tennessee football. The big rivalry then was like Tennessee, Mississippi State, which is hilarious now. But we'd go out and we'd throw the football, and at halftime we'd throw the football, and before the game we'd throw the football, and all of that. And that was, I just remember that house. It's burnt to the ground since then, but it was a happy place then. Doug's happy place is with Roger on his chair. There you go. The farm was obviously a happy place.
The beach.
New Smyrna Beach, yeah, definitely one of my.
When I think of it,
less than 2 months away, or 2 months away, less than 2 months away now.
And I was like, even small, like I love sitting on my front porch. It's not like there's this stunning view, although early in the morning, I like the sun will come up.
Yeah.
Over the recycling plant.
As I'm looking at it right now, I'm out my window. Yes.
But just the emerging, and
the noises that start over there at 6 a.m. crash, bang, smash. That's fun. Places.
But here was what I had was this thought of God made us for place.
Yep.
So here was the thing I had never thought about till this morning is, did place exist before creation? I was thinking about it. So God is eternal. God is spirit. God inhabits everything.
God's in place.
I don't know if there was such thing as place.
It's interesting. Scripture would almost indicate that there's not, in one sense, because of, what is it? The heavens are the God, and the earth is his footstool, but who will make a place for God? I mean, this idea of the building a temple for God. There's no place that can contain God because he's every place.
Right.
The psalmist talked about where can I flee from your presence?
Right.
Doesn't matter. The depths of hell, the danger, disease, all those, you can't escape the presence of God because he's always in place. Even think about that term, what it means to be in place. There's an idea that something is in order. If it's in place, it's in order.
Yeah. So my thought is, okay, God, you think of God could have made us in his image, simply enjoying him and each other in spirit.
Yep.
But God, before he makes us,
I never have to look at you. Hey, Raj, I know you're out there, but
you're a precious, wonderful person.
I know you can hear me.
But God, before he makes people, he makes a place.
Yep.
He makes the heavens and the earth. He makes a garden, and then he puts us in a place. And it was just this idea.
Yeah, I never thought of that being the first place. In the first place, God made place. And before he ever put people, because the place involved not only the firmament and the heavens and the earth and the land and sea, but then all the animals were part of place.
Right.
Even when I think about the farm, part of that place that's so much fun is the animals there.
Yeah.
The donkeys and the cows and the horses, that was part of that place. When we go to New Smyrna Beach, there's the sharks. It's just part of the place.
New Smyrna.
Shark capital of the world.
Shark capital of the United States, at least.
Yeah. But I've never thought about it. And this is helping me for my talk in July. The idea that place was first. And then Jesus, before he leaves to go to ascend into heaven, he says, I'm going to prepare a place. Before you get there, I want to have everything in place so that where I am, you can be also.
Yeah. No, this is the beautiful thing. And I realize, I think this is why we love gardens and beaches and farms. Maybe why we love a cottage.
Even houses. I was talking to
houses, yes.
folks last week about the importance of the beauty of, when I was doing a women's retreat, I was talking about the beauty of this desire we have to make our houses beautiful. I said, that's God-given. That's within us to make beauty. I mean, the reason this house is beautiful is because Marlena exists. And so she's always working to make place.
So what my wife Joy does with, of course, Marlene does as well, gardens, plants, flowers, things that I wouldn't.
Bookshelves, signage. But I was responsible for the TV. That's place for me. I did that.
It's gorgeous.
It's very nice. Thank you.
Really.
You like the placement? Placement. This is fun.
So the fun thing with that, as I'm thinking, is we were made for people and we were made for place. It's not one or the other. It is both. And I think sometimes I've kind of leaned on
People.
well, of course, people,
Yep.
and God and people, if I'm prioritizing, supersede place. But what I realize at a point where I have sometimes undervalued God's glory in place.
And the order of place. So even I just thought about my friends again, Dave and Liz Gibson, who started Deer Run Retreat Center.
Yes.
That whole retreat center, which is now impacting thousands of people, every year, started with David just walking this piece of property with God.
Yep.
And he knows that God gave him a vision for this place. And it was interesting that then David began to create a place before there was ever people. Like their first, they told this story this weekend, their first marriage retreat that they did out there.
Yep.
Everyone was in tents. So they're in these tarp tents on top of, they're like,
platform, those
yeah.
glamping.
It led to the end of several marriages. And so they realized they needed to up their game. That's a joke, by the way. But it's interesting. No, God gave him a vision for place. And now they're creating place and inviting people. Bobby Gordon, same way, bought land out on the Flint River. This is another good friend of mine, pastor. And then after he bought place, then God began to give him a vision for this whole Legacy Ridge Ministries, for couples and for, folks that have certain physical challenges, and having a place for them to enjoy the beauty and wonder of creation and God. And of course, it's a beautiful space right on the river. But yeah, God is all about place. When people talk about heaven, I'm like, you realize heaven, I think we have a terrible misunderstanding of what heaven, because it just says there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. But it's very much going to be place. It's going to be material. If I think the Sierras are beautiful, in the new order, there's not going to be less beauty.
It's not going to be less beautiful.
There's not going to be less beauty. There's just going to be beautiful place.
Doug wants to be in place.
You can't get on that's not your place right now. Okay, so we need to sit down, Mr. Place. There we go. You sit on the floor. Good boy.
Well, so it makes sense then, just like, because you quoted Jesus a second ago, this is, we were always made for place. So this is not a secondary, it's not a backup plan. We were always made for place. So when God made the world, the earth, he makes a place that we can enjoy with him. We were made for person and place. But then this is why Jesus said, I'm going to prepare a place. It's not just, hey, one day, boys, you're going to be able to be with me.
Right.
We're going to be together in a place.
Roger, okay. I'm so stuck on this. So good. So the order, even in God's plan for this. So he creates place. This is about the value of person. And then he puts Adam in this place. And he's like, no, it's not quite right yet.
I love that. Yes.
Not quite right yet, because it's not good for man to be alone. He needs not only place, he needs persons.
Right.
Or people, depending on how you want to go with that. And then but it's interesting that place came first.
Right. And
even now, Jesus is preparing a place for us, but we won't be there alone. It's not like we're going to be there alone with Jesus. We're going to be with other persons.
And for the most part, I'm making a generalization, place is best enjoyed with persons.
Yeah.
Now, there is a time where we can enjoy
I love solitude.
Beauty alone.
Yes.
But if that's all we had, I'm seeing this stunning view and I'm the only one.
We would start talking to volleyballs.
We
would, because he's on this beautiful island, sea, mountain. It's beautiful, but there's no person there. So he paints a volleyball with blood, as it turns out. What was that volleyball's name?
Bert.
Warren. No, that's interesting. We were made for place and person. Of course, that's the first 8 points in my talk.
Okay.
the 7 P's.
Well, I didn't realize that, but
No, I didn't even realize why the order was important. Because
well,
now, thanks to you, my intro just got better. No, it did. I had never thought about that.
So
He could have made man and then said, now let's figure out a place for him.
I realized even a couple of years ago, I might have done a morning video, and I realized
Doug's falling asleep.
I'm shifting.
It's
when
that
I'm
it's that good. It's that interesting.
Oh my
Try
goodness.
to hold it together.
When
Doug.
will this be over?
Yeah, okay. So go ahead.
I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Do you have any?
It doesn't take long to get you off.
Boom. You had me look at Doug falling asleep while you talk.
I just remember the days when you were pastoring on Sunday morning, and as you droned away, people started listening. And it's always fun when they unlist because it's a rapid, jerky movement. Because at some point their brain says, you're about 4 inches off center. And it's back. Okay, I'm sorry. That was just too good. That was just too good to miss.
Oh, okay. I remember now.
Okay, good.
I remember I was emphasizing that heaven is about a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that, of course. In fact, the song you put me onto, I absolutely love. Where's My Promised Land?
Yes.
Toby Mac, Sheryl Crow. They're asking, and then this glorious moment, that song, this climactic moment. You're my promised land.
Yeah. Oh, I just had chills thinking about it.
Yeah. So that is the greatest glory, is being with God. But it was never, ever intended to be separated from a place. So while God is the promised land, it is a land as well.
But isn't that interesting? Even the promised land was a place.
Yes.
He told Abraham, go to the place that I will show you.
No, this is what I'm seeing this all through the pages of the Bible.
Oh my goodness.
God always wanted us to enjoy him in a place. So we have Eden. But then the people of Israel, I'm going to give you a land. I'm going to give you a land. But then for us, we're enjoying God in place now. I can enjoy him on my front porch. I can enjoy him on a beach. I can enjoy him on the farm. I can enjoy God and others. But God says, this idea of enjoying me with place never ends. It's the idea.
It wasn't accidental.
This is why it's this flimsy idea of heaven with fluffy clouds is such a disastrous. It's the idea.
And harps. I mean, no one can play a harp.
It's the idea that heaven isn't about place. Oh, it's just God and spirit. It's just spirity. It's just fluffy. And it misses. There's a glory God intended. He made place for us to enjoy him. So then he says, and you see this now on the page. So Jesus, I go to prepare a place for you. But even I look at Psalm 23, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Place.
In other words, and God says, eye has not seen, ear has not heard what God has prepared. He's not simply talking about himself. Of course, God is glorious, and we're going to, but it's not. He is, and this is why the Bible will take pains to describe, to just give us a taste of place. So whether you have streets of gold and that's intended to be literal, or whether that's intended to be, if you think the place you're enjoying now is glorious, my God.
Right. I think the writer was using imagery that made sense. The streets of gold, pearly gates, because when you think about the temple, even in the time of Jesus, everyone was just taken by it. It was extraordinary. Right. And of course, Jesus was like, yeah, this place isn't going to last, which got him in a lot of trouble. But this reality that there is beauty now, there will be beauty in the new order. I think the whole idea of streets of gold was not literal streets of gold, because I'm thinking that would be awfully slick. You know what I mean? But but it'll have a sea. Which no, there was no more sea. But I think it's gonna be a cool place. I don't know. When I think about place, I'm like, oh, I remember when I was going. Sorry, I get a little distracted right now. No, but there was a funeral I was at recently, and we talked about it afterwards. And the reality is, when I think of dying, honestly, I'm not thinking about the joy of being reunited with anybody except Jesus. I'm not thinking of, oh, I'll get to see my grandpa or my grandma or my aunt or my uncle or anyone else. And maybe that'll change, as I lose people even closer to my circle. But I'm just like, when I think of heaven, it's not the joy of seeing loved ones as much for me as I just want to see Jesus. I want to see Jesus face to face. That's why I love that song, Soon and Very Soon. And it's that moment of, in the bridge, there's that, though I have not seen him, my eyes know him well. Jesus Christ, the Lord of heaven. It's this thing of, we've been walking with Jesus for years. We've been walking in place. See what I did there? That's good. We've been walking with Jesus for years without having seen him. And Jesus said there's a great blessing in that. When Thomas, sees him and believes, Jesus says, well, even more blessed are those who believe never having seen. I realize I've gone 59 years of my life never having seen Jesus, but never not believed in Jesus and believed that he was there. Right. Never, and we've talked about it many times. Of course, that's the conclusion of the whole talk. The one thing we can never lose is the presence of God. We can lose everything else in this life. But even then, there's a great restoration. Jesus talks about, if you lose everything in this life and save it for the next.
Yeah.
Don't try to save your life now. You'll end up losing it. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, I wonder. I was listening to you talk and just thinking about even the idea of seeing what, let's say someone who's blind their whole life.
Right.
They're seeing things in some ways. So in a way, but I realized that
they're perceiving things.
That when God became human, took on flesh and blood, he at some level entered into place.
Yep.
So that now it would seem that is part of what enables us to see him. I don't know. The idea of see is just a fascinating.
Well,
is a fascinating idea.
And these, using a Baptist term, the glorified body, the resurrected body, in teaching that I've done about scars, is extraordinary that post-resurrection, Jesus was still in a body, different body, but the same body, because it still had scars.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, will this finger ever be right? Will we still have scars from different things? I don't know. But it's an interesting thought about even what the new order looks like. What we do know for sure is it will be place. And we know what it won't have. We don't know all the things that it will have, but we were promised by Jesus in Revelation. He says, there will be no more death and no more dying, no more sickness, no more tears. For the new order, the old order of things has passed away. So it's going to be place. And there's certain things that won't have anymore. No more disease, no more death, no more dying.
Right.
And I was just thinking about scars this week, and I'm like, we'll have fun in the new order, talking about, this life. Yeah, I cut my hand 1,000,000 years ago. Just can you imagine talk and tell the story?
But it will be just, I can't wait to eat with you again. Again, place, even if I circle back around to our meal last night, we're in a place, it's a simple place where with people, we're enjoying a meal gloriously prepared by me.
Glorious is the only word. That was not an inglorious meal. That was a glorious meal.
But
salmon croquet.
And we're enjoying God in all of that. And that was just a taste. That is a taste of what we were made for forever.
Roger, and there's an introduction to that dinner, which is the ringing of the bell. We both have black bells on the side back of our house, so that whoever's cooking, usually Roger, rings it when it's ready. But I realized that's also this idea of a trumpet sounds and Jesus returns.
We're ready, and we go meet him in a place.
And we go meet him in a place.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll sound like the bell. Or it'll be more like the Ricola horn.
Woo!
That's it. We just ran out of time and place.
Oh, I don't know if it's turning